Hello, my name is Katie Procell, and this is my final TV pitch for the series Reboot. Gossip Girl is a very popular American teen show. The show is an adaptation of the novel series by Cecily von Ziegler. The original creators were Josh Schwartz and Stephanie Savage. The show surrounds privileged teens living on the Upper East Side of New York who can hide no secret from the ruthless blogger who is always watching. The first episode aired on September 19th, 2007, and the final episode aired on December 17th, 2012. I first started watching this show when I was just a freshman in high school, and I instantly became enamored. This was my first true experience of binge watching. When I wasn't sitting in front of my computer with my eyes glued upon my screen, I was constantly thinking about when I could watch it next. There were many factors that first drew me in. I'd never traveled to New York, and this was my first time I got to experience the bustling beautifulness that the city beholds. In fact, when I first traveled to New York, I visited all the places that were highlighted in the show. The characters of the show gave its viewers a whole other definition of drama. The acting was spectacular, and each cast member was scandalous, ambitious, devoted, passionate, and sometimes infuriating. Not to mention the incredible luxury that was portrayed, and the beautiful fashion that sometimes overwhelmed me. In my personal opinion, I think there are many reasons why the show deserves a reboot. The first being the devoted fans. This show has one of the most loyal fan bases that I have ever seen. I know that millions of other viewers, just like me, dream of the day that the show gets rebooted. Not to mention the numerous questions that were left unanswered after the finale. Next, the show was impressively successful with 36 nominations and 20 awards, and winning 20 awards. The last reason why I believe this show deserves a reboot is because of the endless possibilities of future storylines, in which I will go further into detail later. The original Gossip Girl was a single camera series. There's obviously no live audience or a laugh track. It was filmed both in real locations and on film sets. Reboot would also be shot single camera. The reboot would appear as a web series on Netflix. Both the original and the reboot would be considered serialized. The reason why the show is considered serialized is because if someone who has never seen the show were to watch a random episode, they would have absolutely no idea what was going on. The show was a linear styled series, and the reboot would be very similar. However, I think that the non-linear storylines are very intriguing, and it would be fascinating to incorporate several flashbacks and flash forwards. After watching the reboot on Netflix, the viewers might be recommended to watch Revenge, One Tree Hill, The Vampire Diaries, The OC, and 90210. The main characters of the original series were Serena van der Woodsen, Dan Humphrey, Blair Waldorf, Nate Archibald, and Chuck Bass. During the show, Serena had a slanderous past, which usually haunted her. She was also particularly known for several on and off again relationships with the male characters. Dan Humphrey, who is first revealed as an outsider, becomes a part of the tumultuous Manhattan scene. He is also shown as an ambitious writer with a good heart and great morals. Blair Waldorf, who is another main character, is shown as the pretty queen bee of the Constance billiard schooler. She is also shown as the best friend of Serena, as well as her occasional rival. Nate Archibald is shown as a perfect golden boy of the Upper East Side. And lastly, Chuck Bass is shown as the show's anti-hero, a womanizer, a party lover with a turbulent past, but has a hidden vulnerable side. The new series will have no principal lead, and it will still follow the same characters. However, it will be years later, so it will focus on the offspring of the past main characters. The characters will be similar, however, they will be grown up and much more mature. Most of them will put their malicious past behind them. Serena van der Woodsen will be the matriarch as she grows up. Serena will have a great sense of morality, and the characters will know what is right and wrong through the voice of Serena. The patriarch will be Dan Humphrey. Being married to Serena, he will carry the authority of the show. He will be a famous writer who is often idolized for his vast talents and smarts. The craftsmen will be both Blair and Chuck Bass. While both grown up, will still slip up and go back to their old scheming ways. Although the couple is married and will have multiple kids, the drama and the scheming will never stop. The clown of the show will be Nate Archibald. In the reboot, I plan to have Nate unmarried without kids. However, he will be a very wealthy businessman. When the show follows him, he will have several moments of being overwhelmed by the world and still struggling to find his place. Chuck Bass was the anti-hero in the original series and will also be the anti-hero in the reboot. He will be a mix between femme fatale and the asshole with a heart of gold. Bass will have confidence in his sexuality, be manipulative and seductive, and continue to use blackmail to get his way. He will also have a twisted moral compass, although he will have redeeming qualities behind his tough exterior. I plan to have a few antagonists who affect each of the main characters' lives, mostly the couples. One antagonist of the previous season that I will bring back is Jack Bass. He is Chuck Bass's uncle, who is ultimately incredibly selfish and vindictive. I want teenagers in this era to have a relatable show that also makes their lives seem a little less hectic. The show gave me an escape from reality, and I want the reboot to do the same for other high schoolers. Through the reboot, I want to have themes like love, jealousy, cheating, abuse, and drugs. In the pilot of my reboot, we'll first begin showing each of the main characters' lives now, where they are in life with love, kids, jobs, wealth, etc. Then we'll begin to focus on the children, who all go to the same private school in New York. We will begin to see how they have followed in their parents' footsteps. Although the blog Gossip Girl ended, they will use today's social media to ruin each other's lives, especially Snapchat. We see that Blair and Chuck's first daughter feels the need to run the school, but she will declare war upon Serena and Dan's daughter, who is much more down to earth. The pilot will end with all the families getting together and explaining their past to try to get the kids to get along. However, we will see how manipulation works for the children, and it will end with a cliffhanger to see who will take over the private school once and for all. I've also come up with a few ideas for future episodes. My first idea is to have Nate almost lose his company and everything he has after getting caught having an affair with a con artist. My next idea is to have Serena and Dan's child end up getting caught for selling drugs. Another idea I have is for Chuck Bass to become interested in running for mayor of New York. The series will have a few episodes following his campaign and one final of him actually winning. After the first season, I would like to have Dan Humphrey develop cancer and eventually pass away. For more ideas, I think it would be interesting to follow the cast and see how they grieve Dan's passing, and eventually will show Serena having new love interests. And that concludes my final presentation. I hope you enjoyed my final reboot of Gossip Girl.